The standard underdog story is a straight line. The hero survives hardship, follows the rules of the institution, and eventually achieves a neat, successful life. It is a pervasive myth. On paper, Dr. Tony Astro fits the myth. He is a highly decorated Navy veteran with a PhD in behavioral sciences. He has spent years in Norfolk, Virginia, counseling thousands of service members through the disorientation of leaving the military. But his actual career is built on a shadow resume. He lied on his federal enlistment forms to get past a medical screening. He was humiliatingly fired from a high-stakes flight deck position. And at the height of his career, he suffered an identity collapse so severe he walked away from his commission. Rigid institutions are engineered for insiders, people whose lives already fit the expected mold. A perfect rule follower with Tony's history would have been screened out before the first day of boot camp. Being an outsider provides a specialized perspective. The skills required to navigate a room not built for you are the same skills needed to identify and repair the gaps in a rigid system. Tony's training began in a 400-square-foot boarding house in Manila. 25 people shared a single bathroom and kitchen, and Tony slept in a loft with a 4-foot ceiling. It was a world defined by physical confinement and constant overlapping noise. At age 7, he began suffering violent epileptic seizures. His frightened classmates at the Quiapo Anglo-Chinese school branded him the exorcist. To survive this exclusion, he developed a double consciousness, watching himself through the eyes of a hostile public. Scanning for threats, he learned to read a room's subtle shifts before he could read a clock, converting isolation into hyper-observant empathy. When the external world offers no stability, an outsider prioritizes their internal landscape. They develop a self-reliance that functions independently of their surroundings. In 1991, Tony faced an institutional firewall, the DD Form 1966. This federal record is the Navy's primary tool for medical and moral screening. The form is a binary machine. It is designed to identify historical flaws, like epilepsy or past drug use, but it is unable to account for human resilience or a candidate's future potential. Knowing a yes would end his career before it began, Tony deliberately checked no to the questions regarding his seizures and history. He bypassed the firewall to secure a future the system wasn't built to give him. For those trapped in the margins, securing a path forward sometimes requires prioritizing personal autonomy over strict institutional compliance. Tony found his footing in the high-stakes meritocracy of the USS Independence. On the flight deck, rank and accent mattered less than the ability to manage the dangerous ballet of launching and recovering fighter jets. But 18 months into a flawless record, extreme sleep deprivation caught up with him. At 2 a.m., he skipped a verification step, woke up the entire strike group for a non-emergency flight, and was immediately fired from the aviation department. He was reassigned to the administrative division, where he spotted a broken, paper-based system for processing sailors leaving the Navy. Files were getting stuck in separate silos, leaving hundreds of sailors in a state of limbo. Rejecting the standard inertia of the office, he used his own time to engineer a database that turned that chaotic web into a linear digital flow. He realized his value lay in the margins of the bureaucracy. By observing where the system created friction for people, he could use his outsider perspective to fix it. By 1999, Tony had built a life on 3 interconnected identities: sailor, scholar, and church leader. But these pillars were interdependent. When a painful betrayal at his church shattered his spiritual identity, the rest of the architecture began to cascade. Driven by that betrayal, he impulsively resigned from the Navy. He landed in the awkward middle, a period of total disorientation where his previous roles no longer applied. He tried to transition into a corporate role at American Express, but the fiercely individualistic culture clashed with the collective, mission-driven mindset he had spent a decade refining in the Navy. Technical skills are not enough to ensure a successful transition. If your values are misaligned with the culture of the institution, you will struggle to function, regardless of your competence. Tony course-corrected by returning to the Navy strategically. He took a deployment to Rota, Spain, and began rebuilding his life, this time ensuring his self-worth was never again tied to a single institution. He leaned into hybridity, the ability to inhabit multiple, seemingly contradictory roles at once. He became a sailor, a scholar, and a shepherd, allowing these identities to layer rather than compete. He codified the lessons from his own failures into a transition framework. To date, he has used that method to help nearly 8,000 veterans navigate the same crossing he once nearly failed. If you find yourself in a room that was not built for you, the years you spent adapting weren't wasted. They gave you the specific tools needed to redesign the room itself.